This is your daily briefing. You're most welcome to it. Breaking news is Fabio Paratici has been busted. Spurs chief is out of business for 2.5 years. And you know, God did that. Yeah, God did that because all the references to cooking and being a don were just so impossibly stupid. So, you know, you get what you deserved. Juventus had been inflating transfer fees in order to create millions of pounds, which they then used as part of a capital gains tax swindle. And it was Fabio that was handed out most of the punishment. There was a football team virtually. I think there was about 13, 14 people that were involved. And Paratici has copped the biggest fine. He was the central character to it. And Juventus, they're looking at a lengthy European ban on top of everything. This is carnage. This is chaos. The finding means that the FA is now likely to be asked to implement the suspension by its Italian counterparts. So it is probably, almost certainly and without doubt, going to be enforced in the UK. Leaving Spurs in the lurch, Chairman Daniel Levy searching to plug a hole at the top of the club. On top of everything else, absolute chaos. Normally, associations accept the disciplinary decisions of fellow governing bodies, and while it is expected Paratici will appeal the verdict, yeah, good luck with that, mate, his future at Tottenham, it's bleak. It's bleaker than bleak. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't actually just let him go. I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me. Antonio Conte's press conferences are becoming increasingly in need of bullet-pointed summaries. The reason for this is that he's dropping truth bombs that no football club would want their coach sat out there in front of the world's press saying. It's pretty horrible. The gaffer said, to concede 21 goals in the last 10 games, this is usually for a team that fights in the relegation zone. And the reason he's saying that is because A, it's true, and B, we have got players in this side, in this squad, that could get us relegated. They're not good enough. And they've not just wandered in. Most of them have been with us for an inordinate amount of time, been rewarded for winning nothing with extraordinarily long contracts, and they're now causing chaos. And it's all coming back to bite us in the bottom. Let's add some context to those goals that we've let in, shall we? Just ram it home so you understand how bad things are. Spurs have conceded 31 goals in total in the league, which is 5 and 6 more than Everton and West Ham, respectively, both of whom are in the drop zone. So anybody who isn't concerned at this stage, anybody who thinks that there's just people out there sort of shouting and twisting their knickers because we haven't signed Pedro Porro, and I'm going to come on to that because we need to stamp a lot of this nonsense out. No, this has been in the pipeline for a long time, and there's been people like me, and I can name half a dozen different accounts on social media, who've been suggesting things could get really nasty, and now they are. Spurs' form in the last 5 games alone is worse than relegation-threatened Nottingham Forest and Wolves. Just let that sink in. And we can't talk about Tottenham without talking about money, because again, some of you have a problem with the money that surrounds this club. Have a look at this. This is a great moment for me to remind you about what's really important at a football club, and everything else is in the far distance. By a country mile, it's transfers. The lifeblood of any Premier League elite side in Europe. You may have been misdirected or even, dare I say, lied to. So I'd like you to think of these tapes as me deprogramming you, putting you straight. I've been telling you for years that this club, this business, this property development portfolio, whatever the hell it is these days, has been swimming in cash. And you could see from that chart there that that's not a lie. There's money up to your eyeballs. But the problem is, ENIC's primary goal is to create mechanisms whereby it can create more cash. And that's it. The football, I cannot stress enough to you, whatever they say, it doesn't match up with what they do. Then they don't care. They don't care. The football is, in actual fact, when you break it down, for ENIC, the football is a threat to their very existence. And of course, we need to talk about ENIC's enablers. That's a very on-trend word these days, but it's true. We had a Tottenham Hotspur supporters trust that was arrogant, was woke and incompetent, And now I would say they have come up in the world and they're just incompetent. And then we've got the press. Perhaps in some respects the biggest enablers of ENIC of all time. You've got guys that go to the pressers, have the opportunity to put forward in a polite and respectful manner questions which could open the can of worms up, and week in and week out they just simply don't do it. We've got Alistair Gold, who does his Jackanory videos which last for over an hour. Look, I know they're popular. They do tremendous numbers, but I'm questioning the quality of that audience. It's as straightforward as that. Oh, hello everybody, Alistair Gold here. What a week at Tottenham, ho, ho, ho. He's describing the water as we drown, yet he is in a position to make a difference. I'm not talking about him setting fire to his career here, okay? I'm always very precise about the way I speak. He's in a position to make marginal differences and to give, because one of the jobs of a journalist is not just to report the news, but also in the way that they ask their questions and the way they frame things for the people they're questioning, is to give people an indication of what's going on out there, what the readership are thinking. But the trouble is we've created, by and large, a readership that doesn't really think. And of course, we've got Dan Kilpatrick, who's terribly, terribly frustrated with Antonio for not signing a new contract. And perhaps worst of all, we've got the social media influencers. The indiscriminate manner in which they churn out on the hour, every hour content, which they don't write anything themselves, they don't create anything, they just regurgitate. And it's not just that regurgitation, but they don't put any heavy lifting in. There's no thought, there's no analysis. When I come to you and I say, oh, so-and-so suggested that we're looking at such and such player, I do so just not with, well, that's the story. I give you my take. I go and look at the player. There's information out there which you don't have to even pay for. I pay for my information because I like it to be the best I can get my hands on. But just to show some effort, some willing. But it's all just so thin, so cheap. It's just recycling. And it's so lacking in thought. It doesn't have any integrity to it. And perhaps the depths of this social media influence and nonsense was revealed on Sky Sports, where you had this guy go on. He was a strategically shaved baboon. I bought a drawing. Unbelievable. But this isn't worth watching. If this was on the BBC, you'd start creating that you didn't want to pay your licence fee. What I'm calling out here, and it may seem that I've got issues with individuals, yeah, I have. I find stupid people extremely difficult to be near. And the idea that these people are in any way involved in the information or the coverage chain of something that I care so much about, I just find absolutely disgusting. My fear is with all of these people, with the supporters trust, with the press, with the social media goons, is that despite the size of show, which has been coming down the pipeline now for, I would say, at least probably a year before Poch left, a few of us were referencing that this wasn't going to be solvable, that we had players who were dreadful that just went out on loan, that were hidden. There were all these indicators along the way, if you were looking, if you could be bothered. But these clowns were giving ENIC either an easy ride or cheering them on or defending them. But despite all of this collapsing and the rug being pulled from beneath their feet, and you hear the tone now of these guys, they won't go quite as far as saying ENIC out, but they now, instead of this blind white noise of rah, 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 go team, can't wait to smash it tomorrow, chaps, and all this nonsense, I don't think they've actually learned anything. I think they're waiting for it to kind of blow over. They're waiting for Conte to go, a new coach to come in, and it's just rewind them and erase. I don't think they've learned a damn thing, and that's just, well, it's for them to deal with. But I would find that immensely depressing. So where do we go from here? I find myself doing this as the sort of wrap-up phrase on every tape. I think Conte is on extraordinarily thin ice. What's the right word? I'd be interested to see if he's still here come the summer. I've got a feeling they're tied to him. you know, because once they hit the button on Conte, they then plunge themselves back into the misery and the uncertainty of after Mourinho was fired. And I don't think Daniel Levy found that particularly like a comfortable time for him personally or for the club. With the results going down the chute, Ryan Mason isn't going to get anything out of this bunch of bums. As I say, we're waiting for a leopard to change its spots, and that's just a fundamentally stupid fool's errand. It's not going to happen. Anyway, that's it for now. Good luck. Keep it Tottenham.